On NPR this morning, I heard someone say that Tim Walz charmed with his Minnesota accent. As I discussed in a previous video, Tim Walz does not really have a Minnesota accent, and I need people to understand that the Midwest is not one flyover monolith. So, I've used this before, but here is a map of U.S. dialect regions taken from Labov et al. 2006. This is the Atlas of North American English. With the huge caveat that regional varieties are complicated, this one is broadly used as a description of some major regional differences within the U.S. So Tim Walz is from eastern Nebraska, but he lives in Minnesota, and those are in different dialect regions. So we see that Nebraska, where he's from, is the Midlands, where Minnesota, mostly the parts of Minnesota he's in, are the North. In fact, Walz is from the same region as me. I'm from Central Ohio, so if you just go east on that same map, it's the same region. Obviously, he and I are not going to sound the same because of age, race, gender, lots of other things. But broadly, he and I have similar vowels. You can listen to him here.
So there I was, a 40-something high school teacher with little kids, zero political experience, and no money, running in a deep red district. But you know what? Never underestimate a public school teacher. Never. I represented my neighbors in Congress for 12 years, and I learned an awful lot.
So why are people calling his a Minnesota accent? Well, there's a few reasons. They don't know the difference between the regional varieties. In the Midwest, most people think of this as flyover country unless they're from the Midwest, so they really can't differentiate. The other thing is, he's lived in Minnesota for a really long time, and he does use more Minnesota-like vowels when he says certain words, certain contexts, certain phrases, including the place Minnesota itself, so you can listen like he does here.
Because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make.
These clips together also explain the third reason. This is part of Walz's political brand. So when he says things in a narrative style like, so there I was, and but you know what, and I learned an awful lot, it conjures our image of a folksy coach and a dad, apart from the actual way that he is pronouncing things. So his style is fairly broadly Midwestern, and sometimes it's uniquely Minnesota, but those are also part of his identity and his brand. I'm gonna be back tomorrow with some thoughts on Kamala's speech this evening.